Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Hairy Muppet, and we're going to go on and we're going to first of all turn the sound on, and then we're going to do another cast. This is another Gold League game. This is between Victor, a Terran player, and ParuSama, a Zerg player. And he's on the left side, but his icon's on the right hand side, which hopefully isn't going to be too confusing, but I'm just going to revert to saying the Zerg player and the Terran player, so it pretty much doesn't matter which side they're on. So let's have a look at this map first of all. Well, let's turn on the production tab first of all. It's standard stuff at the start. Looks like some standard chat as well. So I'll have a look at the map. Now this first expansion, it's got a nice wide ramp, so that's fairly standard. Expansions past that though are pretty wide open. This is pretty much got a highway running straight into it. This is a little bit better defended, but it's a lot closer to the enemy base, and it's quite a trip to get from the main base out to here. And then of course you start to get out to these bases and it's extremely hard to defend them, so you can look for a fairly safe-ish expansion, but after that it's we're going to have to see a lot of armies out in the middle to start defending those. So we've got a scouting Zergling pretty early on. He's going to make it just before the ramp is cut off, and he's going to hit that SCV a little bit and then get chased away. Now unfortunately that drone should have chased away in the other direction, because now he's not going to get it anymore. He's not going to be able to see the scout, which is bad for the Zerg. The Zerg on the other hand, with his groovy looking overlord, is going to be building an expansion, and that should be good for him. I don't know why, but it always looks like this overlord is, I don't know, it looks like a normal overlord, but it's got cancer or something like that. You can see the tumours on the top of its head. You can see the skin starting to sag all over the place. It almost looks like you'd expect the damn thing to just drop dead at any second. Just, yeah. Anyway, what have we got? We've got two SCVs. I can't tell whether they're going out to scout or whether they're chasing this drone and he's just forgotten about them. I'm guessing they're going out to scout. Marine coming, so is a possible bunker rush here. Yeah, I'd say that's probably it. Two SCVs, almost certainly going to be a bunker rush. And here's the second Marine coming out here. And what else has he got building? Two more barracks, so he's definitely looking like the starting pressure is going to be Marines. And we'll see exactly how this goes. We've got a drone attacking the second SCV, so he'll have to jump out. And you should be right in a second, because this Marine's going to show up. And oh, this is beautiful by the Zerg player. He's going to destroy this SCV. He's going to take out the second one. I think it'll get the bunker finished though. So he's going to be alright for now. He's going to lose a lot of drones. I don't know if he's going to take this bunker out, but yeah, it's going to be close. The SCV goes down. The drones are going to retreat though. So he lost a couple of drones there, but I think these Zerglings along with these drones should be able to take the bunker out with no real problems. And he probably lost, actually, let me see if I can find the units lost tab. It's L. I thought, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought they actually had a way of seeing the specific units that have been lost. It's probably something, I can't remember it by now, but we'll say units lost 5 from the Zerg, and I'm going to guess that that's probably about 4 drones, maybe 3 drones and the rest are Zerglings, so it's not too bad. The Terran player lost a bunker there, lost a couple of SCVs and Marines, so I don't think any player really came off worse from that battle. The Zerg knew exactly what to do against the bunker rush, and he did it, and that's pretty much fine. Players are both going for it. He's continuing to produce Marines fairly well. He's getting his second expansion up, which is good. He hasn't got any gas at all, which is bad. So he's still pushing, but with no gas he can't get a factory, and with no factory I mean, you can't even get a tech lab with no gas. So either he's going in for a marine all-in, he's going to try and push the bunker again, which he has to do something at this point. I mean, all these marines, he's got a massive amount of marines. If we look at the active forces, he's beating out the Zerg. The Zerg has built up Zerglings as well. And active forces, excuse me for a second, does active forces include the total units? Let me just figure this out. I'm going to apologize in advance. We're going to do a bit of counting here once I find the army tab. So units, that's 16 marines, and then 8 Zerglings. So if we look at that, yeah, 16 marines. So 16 marines, 800 manure. So this has got to be the army forces. It doesn't include actual units. So in that case, where's that 500 coming from then? I am very slightly confused here. So it's 12. So 6, whatever. It's 12. I would think that would be worth 300 minerals. And then he's got 2 queens. So we'll say they make up the rest, and then we'll stop looking at those stupid displays and try and forget that I don't know what I'm talking about here for at least a few minutes, so we can get back to the actual game. We've got Zergling speed, so that's going to cut down on this scouting SCV. We've got a fair amount of Zerglings. Zerglings aren't a bad counter as far as Marines go. I don't think he has enough to take on this force though, but regardless, they're not going to meet face to face because he's doing a wall in here. This is very interesting here. He built up all these Marines and then he hasn't used them. He's basically sitting them back in defense, so he's going to have to play a bit of catch up as far as gas goes, and that's what he's doing. He's got 2 gas geysers out, he's building up his factory, so he's probably a little bit behind on the tech, but he's pushing that pretty hard now. He's got the reactors, he's got the tech lab, and I expect him to go and grab a couple of medivacs after this, possibly tanks, but it doesn't really have to at this point. And yeah, once he's got a solid triple M army, then I expect him to start pushing out. Meanwhile, the Zerg player, he thought I saw a Baneling's nest around here somewhere, did I? Yes, yeah, so we've got the Baneling's nest going on there. So he's in a pretty good position for a bunker hit, which is good for him because the Terran player does have a bunker that needs to be hit, and the Zerg player does know that there is this wall in over there, so he's done a bit of scouting there. So I think he's possibly ramping up to just bust in here and start taking out stuff. And if he manages to bust open this bunker, and still has some Banelings left over to take care of these guys, then I think he should do a very good job of taking people out. But he'll have to do it soon, because the Terrans got a fair number of reactors here, so he is going to be able to start pumping out a massive amount of units. So 1 Marauder and 5 Marines is a pretty good amount for the 10-minute mark to be able to be pumping out those all at once. So in a matter of minutes, I'd say his army is going to be big enough so that this force here of Zerglings and Banelings isn't going to pose a threat. Now, the Zerg's pushing out for a third, so if we have a look at the income tab, the Zerg's macroing very nicely up to 44 drones. He's got the gas going very well. And did I see a spire before? The spires look as big as spore crawlers, so I can't remember if I did. Where's that damn spending? Where's the structures panel? It's always got this T. Alright, so let's look at the structures panel. We don't really have much in the way of advanced tech for our Zerg player. He's going for Hydras right now. Hydras are good. I don't know if I've ever seen a very effective Hydra-Ling combination. Basically, the Hydras need something to take the brunt of the damage. They're pretty fragile, but they do a lot of damage. They're like a glass cannon. Roach is very good at helping them out. Ultras in the late game are also very good at helping them out, but yeah, Hydra Ling, not sure if that's going to work. Hopefully he goes for something else to protect those Hydras. he's got him actually move down here. I don't know if that's on purpose, if he's expecting a drop. I wouldn't be surprised if he is expecting a drop, because that's the sort of stuff that a lot of Terran players do when they go for Triple M. They just drop everywhere. But of course you can't just leave the Hydras in the back of your base forever. And especially now this SCV has seen the third base, he's going to have to watch out for this, and he's going to have to watch out for his main, and to a lesser degree watch out for the expansion, because that's a bit harder to drop on. So we'll see if the Terran does start going for a bit of drops. He's got 2 Medivacs so far. Is it? I think it's pronounced Medivac, but I always have a need to call it Medivac sometimes, and it seems a bit retarded, so I'll try and call it Medivac from now on, but hopefully it shouldn't ruin the video too much if I call it another way. And of course, one thing which I haven't talked about yet, but is very important, is this third base for the Terran. Now, he's plainly putting it up here because he's hiding it. He doesn't want the Zerg to know about it, and if the Zerg does find out about it, it's basically gone. He has no hope of defending this from the Zerg player when the Zerg player has lings all over the place. Now, it looks like it just had a drop denied over here. If we have a look at the units tab, he's down to 3, and assuming he was building 2 before, there's the other 2. So simultaneous drops. He dropped over there and then he dropped over there, and a wonderful caster that I am, I managed to miss both of them. So how much worse can you get? I don't know why anybody would bother trying to watch this video, but regardless, we're going to get a Medivac coming down here. Zerg anticipates it, gets all his forces down here. This is not going to do anything. Might get a couple of drones, but is most likely going to lose everything. And I'm guessing this is the main purpose of the Hydras at this point, just to sort of snipe up the Medivacs. Now, the macro is getting up pretty good for the Zerg player. He probably could be doing it faster, but he's been worried a bit about the drops as well. The Terran is doing a very good drop at macro. He's only 5 behind the Zerg. The Zerg should be a fair amount farther in the lead than the Terran should be at this point, but it does look like the Zerg is about to discover this third base, so that is going to be a harsh blow for the Terran player, and this command center is probably going to get away. The Hydras are so slow that it's probably not going to catch up in time. They may, depending on where this command center goes. If it went off into the top right, he would have been safe, but he's trying to go back to the base, and that is going to be his downfall. And we'll have a look at the army. He's got a very good Triple M force. He's got 1-1 upgrades, which isn't bad. The Zerglings have 1-1 as well, so it should be pretty good at that point. I can't say whether the Terran force is going to be able to take this out. The Widow Mines are going to help a lot. He's got an Overseer here, so the Hydra should be able to take him out, but they're going to get a lot of Zergling kills. And you can see there the Zerglings, pretty much all of them just completely evaporated there. So that was a brilliant use of Widow Mines there. And I don't think the Terran force is going to have too many problems here. He got a little bit scoured there. He's still got the Banelings to worry about, but I don't think the Banelings are going to do as much damage as they was like to. And this is a fairly heavy Marauder army, so Banelings just don't do the job. They don't wipe out armies like they did if they're Marines here. But we do have the Underground here, burrowed, and that is going to be fairly huge. They took out quite a lot of the Marine force there, but they're going to drop back, and I guess he decided the Zerg wasn't going to follow him because he decided to uproot those Widow Mines and just sort of pull back. And we do have the Zerg with his 4th base up. And if we look at the income, the Zerg hasn't been pushing the macro as hard as he could. And I think he should. I think he really should try and get this 3rd base at least at full saturation, and this 4th base starting to get towards full saturation, or at least starting to move over these drones. It's 19 out of 12. He should probably do something about it. He should probably do something about this as well. Nobody on the gas, that's definitely bad. I mean, he's got the Terran on the back foot. If you look at the production, Terran's not teching into anything. So the Zergs, he doesn't know there's no surprises coming, but I think he should macro up a bit harder. He should definitely push out a bit more drones, and maybe get into the mid-tech, which is what he's doing now actually. Going for an Infestors, which is a very good move. He'll be able to take out the Marine Army ball a lot easier with the fungal growth. And we'll just have to get those Infestors out, see how they go. And the Terran is going for a very sizable drop here. He's looking to take out some major stuff. The Zerg could do a lot of damage if he goes in, but he's taking a more defensive route. He's expecting the Terran to go in at some point and start attacking him, but he's forgotten about the drops, and the drop, here it comes. He might get one of the Infestors here. The Infestor's just standing there. Terran dude, you've got to wake up. You've got to take out that Infestor, because you don't want to just leave those Infestors just lying around. Maybe a scan there would have been good. Taking out these two Infestors would have been a very good choice. But no, he's going to pull back. Just do a bit of scout around. There's no hatchery over there. There's no hatchery over there. So he's just got to pull back for now. Seeing this army over there, maybe he'll go for another drop in the main. But there's not too much for him to take out here anymore. He's just doing a bit of juking, and I expect him to try and escape here. Just get out of there. Maybe go up north, maybe try and take out this hatchery. This, I'm not so sure about. He's dropping them there, there's nothing to take out, and this force is going to be completely overwhelmed when the Zerg do come back around there. And they're running around like crazy, so he's got to get out of there. He's got to get back to his main force. He is keeping the Zerg quite panicked, but I mean, you've got to do more than that. You've got to actually take something out. Maybe he's trying to get the Zerg to come over here, then come back to the expansion. But the Zerg have creep, and the Zerg have Zerglings, so they're going to be able to move quite fast enough to be able to sort this out. And if he's quick enough, he can take out a fair amount of drones here. But once again, the Zerglings are just too fast. Even without a good creep spread, and his creep spread is non-existent, even without that, the Zerglings are still going to be able to outdistance the medevacs and get in place. So really, I mean, the drop action, even without spore crawlers and spine crawlers around, the drop action is just not really doing it for him. I mean, if you had one or two medevacs full of troops just waiting around for the Zerg to come and hit him, then he could duck into this base and this base and start taking those out when the Zerg actually do an attack. Now that is very hard to pull off, doing drops while you're defending with your main army. And I mean, these are gold players, so it's probably a pro player move for them to do that. So I'm not going to say, well, you know, but he's going to go in there. He's going to try and do some damage. He needs to get the fungals. His Infestors aren't getting close enough to do the fungals, and the Terran player is doing a very good job of taking out the Zerglings. There's the first fungal, there's a second fungal, and the Hydralisks are going to just blow everything away from now on. Fungals plus Hydralisk just equals dead Terran units all over the place. He has run out of a bit of Hydralisks, and the Infestors are out of energy, so here's coming down to it. These Widow Mines could do a very good job here. There's another very good hit. Unfortunately, the Terran basically, how much units he's got? 2 Marauders and 5 Marines, so he's completely out of army supply at the moment. He has to build up and get an amount that can ward off these Hydras. He's not going to need much, but while he's building them up, he's going to lose this base. He's going to lose all those drones, and it's an exceptionally good move there, getting the mules down to repair the orbital command. So you should be right there. I'm just flabbergasted by the amount that these Widow Mines have done to the Infestors. I mean, you saw at least one hit go off there. Maybe he missed it in the heat of battle, but it's the kind of thing. Now that Widow Mines are in the battle, you have to keep an eye out for that, because you can't always get detectors. But if you see one Widow Mine come from a certain location, you have to make sure you don't go there again. And this is a very interesting tactic to get rid of the Widow Mines, and it actually worked quite well. It took out quite a lot of them. He perhaps doesn't know if he completely took out all of them though, so he's going to be staying back a little bit here, and that's probably a smart decision on his part. Now we've got a drop coming back here, and this is a smart decision on the Terran's part. He knows he's taken out a lot of the army, so he's going to go in, maybe dropping off the full amount. I reckon he could have taken it. He doesn't know how much army is there, and he's got to be careful of the Zerglings, but I mean, the medevacs have that very fast push now. I don't know whether that's researched or not, and unfortunately I can't check. This is another one of the things that I don't like about this UI. You can't check what buildings have yet to be upgraded and what abilities the medevacs have. I believe that it's a starting ability for the medevac though, so he's going in now. He's going in a lot heavier. You load up, you use the push, and then you get out of there straight away. But yeah, it's a bit hard to judge because the Zerg can just push in really fast when they need to. They can just go in nuts. Now let's have a quick look at the income tab. They're not mining a massive amount. The Terran's doing pretty good. The Zerg's doing a bit worse. But you can have a look at the bank. 7,000 minerals and 1,000 gas for the Zerg. Not too many minerals, but a lot of gas for the Terran player. So you can basically see that the Zerg, I mean, he's 128. He's got to be doing something with this. He's got Zerglings, and he's got Hydralisk, and he's got Infestors, and that's good. He's building up a lot of those guys. But 7,000 minerals, I mean, if you're not maxed out with that much, then you probably should be. And he's got a Ultralisk Cavern coming here, and that will be definitely a good point. If he's going for Ultras though, he needs to start moving these drones over to the gas a bit more. His gas isn't as stupidly high as it could be compared to the minerals, so we'll see how that goes. 5th expansion over here. It's going to do a pretty good job of getting the macro up. A drop here, you should drop everything and take out some drones. This is just beautiful, this drop. He's got the nice choke there. He's going to take out a fair amount of drones. I can't tell exactly how many drones he took out there, but it's just making the Zerg play look stupid with this little wall, getting through the gap thing. And he took out a fair amount of drones, so I'd say good job there to the Terran player. Not many drones to take out here, but what there is, he's going to take them out. And I mean, it's good just to keep the Zerg player flustered, just to say, hey, I've got medevacs, I can drop anywhere the hell I want. It keeps the Zerg player back in his base a lot more. It keeps him a bit more flustered. He has to watch his back 24/7 because those medevacs can just drop anywhere. And that makes it very hard for the Zerg player to commit to an attack. Especially since he's got Zerglings, Hydras and Infestors. The Hydras and the Infestors are so slow. They're slow when it comes to, oh my god, somebody's attacking my main base, I've got to get back there. There's no way they can get back in time to help. It's down to the Zerglings, and the Zerglings can't attack medevacs, and he's chosen not to go for Spore Crawlers that much, so he's relying on his army to defend against the medevacs, and so far they haven't done as much drone damage as they could have, but they're getting better. They're doing more damage as time goes on, and it's just something that the Zerg player is starting to have some trouble dealing with. But he's going in now. He's got his 7 or 8 Ultralisks. The Terran player does have a fair amount of Marauders, so he's going to do a fairly good job. The Widow Mines are taking out the Hydralisks. That's beautiful. The Marauders just need to worry about the Ultralisks, and I think he should be okay there. And there we have the Zerg hitting the GG. He knows this army isn't going to take out the amount that he needs, and he's got nothing to answer this drop. I think he could have maybe dropped it. He could have built up a ton of Hydralisk Zerglings. He's got the minerals to do it. He's running low on gas, but certainly Hydras and Zerglings definitely. He could have rounded this up. He could have fallen it off, but if we look at the income tab, his drone count has just been going down, and I think he's just been having a lot more problems dealing with the drops. And I mean, It's one of the things, when you're a Zerg, there's no silver bullet for dealing with drops. I mean, if the opponent's got a lot of Marines, you can go for several options. I mean, if the opponent's got a lot of tanks, you've got options, and you've got counters. But as far as dropships, dropping Marines and Marauders, there's no direct counter. There's no golden bullet to say, alright, I have to do this, and then it'll be fine. It's an advanced tactic, and to be able to deal with it effectively, you've got to be on your toes. You've got to be watching 4 different locations at all times, and you've got to be ready to defend 4 different locations at all times. And it's a very hard job. And I've got to give some props to Victor here for pulling off those drops. Some of the drops he didn't do the damage he needed to, but he started pushing a lot heavier with the drops. He started working down the Zerg army quite well. And I mean, the Ultras worked in his favour as well a bit, because he had fairly heavy Marauder army. Even back up here when it was Hydras and Zerglings and Banelings coming down, he had a fairly large amount of Marauders. Most probably because his Marines died so quickly to the Banelings and the fungal growth, and all he had left was Marauders. But he managed to keep those Marauders alive for quite a while, and the Zerg player probably would have seen that, should have seen that. And when you've got that many Marauders hanging around on the field, enough to start harassing Hydras and taking them out, you got to think, well, maybe Ultralisks aren't the best choice for this sort of thing. I mean, they're good, but when you got that many Marauders, Ultras aren't the best thing. I can't say for sure what would have been the best. I mean, Roach Hydra is always pretty good. Hydras are pretty good against Marauders. And Roaches are pretty cheap. Zerglings, yeah, you never really know. He was getting a Spire up at this point, but I mean, if you look at his gas income, there was no way he was going to be able to build up any sort of sizable army to try and harass Marauders, and Marines are so cheap, so I don't think that would have worked either. So I can't really say. I personally would have liked to have seen Roach Hydra, maybe even... No, anything else would have been too gas heavy, but each, like I said, I can't sit here and say, ParuSama, you played a crap game, you should have gone this blah blah blah, because drops are freaking hard to deal with, and he did very well to actually push out 5 bases and keep the income up as hard as he did. He didn't have perfect counters to the drops. He didn't deal with them perfectly, but that's fine. He did as well as he could, and I mean, the game went 33 minutes, and there were drops going for like the last 20 or so minutes. So the fact that he held out that long against drops and still managed to do some decent damage over here is a pretty good testament to his skill. Well, we're not talking masters here, we're talking gold. So I'd say props to both of these players, and congratulations to Victor for a drop well done.